The first detainee subjected to the CIA's torture program, captured in March 2002, was a man named Abu Zubaydah, who the CIA initially and wrongly believed to be an important al-Qaeda official. Torture report details how Zubaydah spent 266 hours in a coffin-sized confinement box, frequently crying, begging, pleading, and whimpering, and told the only way he would leave the facility was in the coffin-shaped box. Typically kept naked, sleep-deprived, and was subjected to waterboarding that left him completely unresponsive, with bubbles rising through his open, full mouth. Despite his, quote, hysterical pleas for mercy, Zubaydah eventually became so compliant, he would put himself into position to be waterboarded when his interrogator raised his eyebrow and snapped his fingers twice. Joining me now, Bahar Azmi, legal director of the Center for Constitutional Rights. He used to represent Abu Zubaydah, currently represents another subject of the CIA torture cited in the report, Majid Khan. This seems like a broken human being from the reports here. I mean, is the man that you represented, you met with broken? Is there anyone there left to charge or run through a legal process?
I think, I have to be somewhat cautious around client sensitivities, but I can say he and other torture survivors that we've worked with suffer the predictable consequences of this torture program, which is to shatter people, to break them. How else do you explain that kind of brutality? Or with respect to Majid Khan, how do you explain what's revealed in the torture report, footnote 584, about rectal hydration, which is a form of aggressive sexual assault?
And that is not, just to be clear, this term, which I've never encountered before in my life, rectal hydration, is not some kind of, it's not like force feeding down a tube because someone's having a hunger strike. It's simply a means of degrading someone. Clearly,
that is the point of this interrogation program and so many of these brutal, sadistic torture techniques.
People watching this saying these people were associated with people who murdered 3,000 Americans, that wanted to murder more, that were engaged in plots to murder more. And whether it was wrong or not, I'm not going to sit here and feel a whole lot of sympathy for your clients. What do you say to them?
Well, I don't necessarily ask them to have sympathy for our clients. I expect them to have sympathy for a democracy, and torture is the antithesis of what democracies do. They're associated with the most repressive tyrannical regimes. That's why torture has been banned universally for dozens of years.
And yet it's surprisingly popular in the U.S., even when you call it torture. I think when you call it torture, you get to 40%. When you go to waterboarding, you get over majority. Have the torturers, in some senses, won the last 13 years?
I hope not. I mean, I think this is, they're still riding a sort of wave of so-called patriotism or flag waving. But this is a long process, and judgments about illegal U.S. conduct sometimes take time, but they will come.
These two men are still in Gitmo, am I right?
That's right.
Majid Khan, who you represent now, Abu Zubaydah.
Yes.
How long will they be there?
Well, Abu Zubaydah is a so-called indefinite detainee person in that category who the government thinks is too dangerous to release.
But they can't try because they tortured the hell out of him.
Yes, that's their claim anyway, yes.
So, in some dark prophetic sense, he may have to leave in a coffin-tied box. Bahar Azmi, thank you.
Thank you.
We also have someone who is on the other side of this, 23-year veteran of the CIA's clandestine services who worked in the enhanced interrogation program, wrote a book about it. Glenn Carle joins me now. Glenn, can we start with the black sites that are a huge part of this? These are spread across the world, some in Afghanistan, one in Poland. Can you just even walk me through what is a black site? What's it look like if I walk into the room? Is it in a basement in a rented building? Is it in a camp that's been constructed from scratch? What's it like?
Sure, I'll tell you, but I wouldn't say I'm on the other side of this. I think there's really only one side. I'm on the same side, I believe, as the gentleman and you who were just speaking. But, okay, a black site is a secret facility. Black is a term of art in the CIA, which means clandestine, unknown, unannounced, kept secret. And so a black site is a secret site where the detainees were sent so that no one would know where they were.
And you were asked, you were given a detainee and told early in the days of this program that he was an al-Qaeda person and you needed to get what you could out of him, and you were told you could use torture. You were urged, my understanding, to use torture.
Well, the word torture is never used. People are careful. I could never bring myself to use it, although I was stunned from the first seconds. And no one ever used the word torture. Of course, as we heard President Bush quoted on your segment a few minutes ago, the government decided what one can do and said that this is not torture. But if you define something as you want it, then you can call it what you will. And that's what happened. So no one ever used officially in formal professional conversations that I heard the word torture.
But they did use enhanced interrogation techniques.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. And there was no question to me, and I think to many of my colleagues, what this was, sure.
You resisted. You said, I'm not going to do this. What were colleagues saying? I'm so fascinated reading this report because you can't drill down and poll the CIA frontline operators and agents who are working in this. What are people saying to each other? Are you getting drinks late at night saying, what are we doing? Are people saying, I don't want to talk about it? Are people saying, this is great, we should be doing this?
Well, I think you always will have a range of views in any institution, so all of the above that you described. However, in general, the culture is you are given an assignment, and we are a quasi-military culture in the CIA, and it's not a debating society or a graduate school seminar where you say, you know, what about this, what about that? Discussion, debate, argument on how to do something or whether it should be done as it's being prepared occurs. But once the policy is set or the instructions come, then there's little discussion. If you challenge something like that, you're viewed as insubordinate. I was told, I remember a number of times, I was discussing religious issues, which were quite relevant since we are the infidel to the jihadists, and the Quran is central to them. And so I was discussing theology, which was an important way to develop rapport. And I was told, listen, you know, we aren't engaging in a college or a graduate school seminar in theology. We're out to get the terrorists, or cut that out, which was, of course, a very foolish thing to say. But that sort of shaped the culture of discussion or lack thereof.
There's some part of the report in which some CIA interrogators are sort of reporting back to headquarters and then up to the White House and report headquarters, you know, this isn't working, and they're just getting the message, like, keep pressing.
Oh, well, I was involved in an infinite number of surreal and Kafkaesque moments. One specific one, this has actually happened, although it sounds unbelievable. It sounds like a skit, but it's not funny in the least. I was told to ask a certain question, so I did. And the answer was essentially by the fellow, I don't know. My assessment was that he was being truthful. So I wrote, he said he doesn't know. My assessment is that he's being truthful. The response from headquarters was, the fact that he has not answered the question proves that he is withholding information and or lying. Therefore, you must press him hard, which is completely insane. And I thought I was dealing with an idiot, but I found out that actually that was formal instructions, guidance from the White House, I believe.
Glenn Carle, former interrogator for the CIA. Thank you, sir. What if one of the eyewitnesses that St. Louis prosecuting attorney Bob McCullough put before the grand jury in the case of Officer Darren Wilson wasn't even there when Michael Brown was shot? We'll talk about that possibility ahead.